But basically what you'll see is, actually I want to show you this before I go in here. Once you have auto prefixer installed and you have Node installed, then you can go in here to preferences and you can go into package settings here and then auto prefixer, and we'll just say settings default. And it'll open up this little file here, and by default it's last 2 versions. I'm just going to change it to last 3 versions. So that's the last 3 versions of all browsers. All right, so we'll save that. And now we're back in our style.css file, and we have, these displays going on here with no presets. And so what I'm going to do is hold Command-Shift-P. You can do Control-Shift-P on PCs. And then you see auto prefix. Mine's already highlighted, but it's highlighted auto prefix CSS. And you just push Enter. Give it a second, and you'll see it prefix all this stuff. See that?
Can you just do that again?
That last bit. So Command-Z will go back. I'm holding Command-Shift-P, and then highlight auto prefix CSS, and you can set up a hotkey for it too, like a short key like I have up there. But anyways, so it's highlighted, so I'm just going to push Enter to tell it to run, and you'll see it run and prefix everything that needs to be prefixed. Yep, throughout the entire document, exactly. So now we have all this stuff prefixed. Excuse me? Yeah, exactly. So like when you get done, whenever you want to push your changes live online, then run auto prefix right before it to make sure it's all good to go. All right? So that's a little bonus we wanted to show you. It saves you time in figuring out, what the prefixes are and all that good stuff, and it stays up to date. So, all right. So now at this point, where are we at? We have our main, we have our aside, and I just want to give you all some little, we'll go through a quick bit of SEO and SMO. Nothing big, just to give you all some info on that. So we can just, we can just populate our main here. I'm going to take off these colors for each one and just a border so we can still see it. So we're in our main, and then when we have this article element. So it's like for blog posts, we'll go back into that document we talked about earlier. So the article element is great for news articles, blog posts, user comments, right? And then I'm just going to paste in all this. So we can put this in real quick. So we'll say like H3, right? Actually, let's go H2. I'm just populating the page with info here. So if we wanted it to look like this, we wanted to give it a button look, the 55 comments, what would we wrap it in? What's one thing we could wrap it in? Excuse me? A what? So if we want it to be clickable, what do we wrap 55 comments in? An anchor tag. So we're wrapping 55 comments in that. and then we can give it a, remember how we did it yesterday? We'll give it a class of button, right? So class of button, we want to give it a little background color, right? We'll just give it a background color, tomato. And then we want that red background, and what color do we want? We want the text color of white, right? What else? How do we get those curved edges? Border radius. Just go. And then the other thing is, how do we get a little bit of spacing in between the text and the edge of it? Padding, right? Yep, great call. Padding. And this is what we talked about with the inline, right? So all these are going to be on one line because they're inline, and see how it can overlap each other. And then we'll say text decoration none. To get the underlined out. And our line heights are really weird, so I'm just going to say 1.3. There we go. Give a little spacing there. Wrap these in paragraph tags. And we'll just give H3 in our paragraphs a little margin bottom, 20 pixels for some spacing. All right, so we have our blog post here, and say we want our users to be able to share our blog post, right? We want to let them easily share the Facebook, Twitter, whatever. Okay. So the minimal we have for it is you can just go to the simple share buttons. I'm just going to grab these buttons real quick. And for all, keep this not as confusing, I'm going to take out a handful of these. And this is just the stuff they give you. So, and then they're going to give us the styling for it. So it's going to have a width, 35 pixels, padding 5 pixels, border 0, box shadow 0, display inline. All that makes sense, right? We've seen all that before. Well, other than the box shadow. Give it 1 second. All right, so the buttons are populating. I don't know why they're taking so long, but there we go. So you can easily just put a share here. And this isn't what I want to get to. What I want to get to is the SEO and SMO. So we'll go through that real fast. So we have that. It'll automatically just. We can put a tag if you want. Sure. And I want to wrap all that in it, so it's all on one line. And so all these have, anchor links on them. They gave us. These are all images. We've seen all this before, right? The main thing is just to make, I tend to like to do, to make sure I have all the bases covered. Me and Todd were talking about this yesterday. I like to basically weigh the amount of effort it takes for something and how much you get back from it. So in other words, we'll try to find the most simple way to make your site as shareable as possible without going into too much complexity. So we have this article right here on how to make your site maximize for social media sharing. And you have the minimal template, you have the standard template, you can go into, it can start getting real complex, right? So we're just going to keep it nice and easy, and we're just going to grab the minimal social media template right here. So this is what I do on the majority of my sites, unless I want to get, unless you want to get, real specific, or you want to maybe if you're, freelancing and charging a client, you want to upsell it. I just do the minimal here, and so we're going to replace this title tag because it already has it in there. And line all this up. So we have our title tag, and for SEO optimization, 60 to 70 characters. Blog template description, no longer than 155 characters, because then it's going to cut off in the middle. This has to do with you do the Google search. It's going to cut off in the middle of your description.
What was the URL for that page of those templates? That was pretty cool.
Which page? Right here. It's in our week 1 under SMO. All right. So, anytime you search anything, the main thing is, the reason why also you don't want to make this, you want to make sure you have this description tag in here. So let's just search something. What was that restaurant you said earlier?
Santa Fe Bass.
All right, so see, obviously you have the URL, you have the title, right? The title they put in their page, and then you have this description, and I'm assuming they didn't put a description in their page. They could have, but see how it's continued on here? So it cuts off right at 155 characters. So you want to make it less 155 so that you get your description that you want to get out to people. Yes?
So was that a template to enable your website to do this then, a search engine?
Yeah, so it's easy to grab it. And the main thing with SEO is the title and the description in terms of in the header. Like we used to have keywords. People used to put a lot of keywords, but Google puts a real low emphasis on keywords these days in terms of when you mark them up here. So really, these are the main 2 you need to have for the biggest results. And then you want to keep your site as semantic as possible with the headers, the articles, the different tags, right? And that's what we're going through today. So those are like the two like smallest simple changes for the biggest wins in terms of making it as SEO optimized as possible. And I've also included a list that you guys can click on here. This guy's great, Tommy Griffith. He has a whole course on SEO, but he does this SEO checklist. And it'll load. Give me 1 second here. And I don't want to spend, like a crazy amount of time on SEO just because I want to make sure we, have the layouts rock solid for the next coming weeks. But I want to, just like hit on this so you guys can come back and check it out later when you have more time. Okay, beautiful. So he has all this, this checklist. I've installed Google Analytics, Webmaster Tools, all that stuff, right?
And the site with the templates, could you just click on it again?
Yep.
So I can see what it is.
So we're gonna use this minimalist template.
That's moz.com.
Yep, and that's on that week 1 document. I think Todd, everyone has access to that, right?
What's the week 1 document? What do you mean?
The
outline?
the outline, yeah.
Yeah, that's all through the Summer Web Boot Camp.
Okay, so you all have access to that, so you'll have those links in there. And the other thing is, like, Google also sometimes overrides your description. Well, first you want to put a description in there because you want the highest chance of having your own description in there. And then sometimes Google will override your description if it's like, too many words, or they think that, their robots think that, they can come up with a better description. But you want to make sure you have that description in there, because if not, then it will make up, its own for you. And if you haven't done the semantics right on your own site, then, you don't have control over that, right? And then this Twitter card data right here is just to make your site. Have you ever seen Twitter cards? People, I'll just give you an example of one. Yeah, so this is a Twitter card right here. Instead of just, if this was out, right, this was gone, it would be just his regular post, but you can optimize your site for Twitter cards. And then this is all the open graph stuff. It's mainly, for Facebook, but luckily Twitter and like Google Plus and that sync with it as well. So we want to put our title here. And we don't have it here in our Sublime, but luckily they do a good job of color coding what you need to change here, right? So far we've only changed the title, the description, the title again, and as well as we'll change this URL, image, and description. So blog template, URL. Well, I don't have it up anywhere, but we'll just say.
So there's it's anathema in coding to repeat yourself, DRY, right?
Yeah, do not repeat yourself.
And we've got title in there, OG title, and that's not unlike title up above on line 6, right? And then we have OG URL, and this is the URL you're at.
Yeah.
So who came up with this open graph standard? Like obviously Facebook,
Yeah.
Twitter, and whatever else, they reference that data somehow when they crawl the web, and it helps them index stuff. Do you know anything just a little bit more about why OG, why the redundancy? That seems kind of.
I mean, I'm assuming, so if you don't have the title in the URL, I'm sure, Facebook has stuff built, because this is Open Graph with Facebook, right? Like, as you said, I'm sure Facebook has some stuff where it will grab it sometimes, but this is to be explicit and ensure that it shows up exactly as you define it.
And so it makes me feel old, but I feel a little bit out of touch with like culture. Right?
Okay.
Like it's like, dude, I've been to movies in like forever, and like I like look at trailers sometimes. There's like new movie stars I've never heard of.
Oh, all right.
Who won Oscars already? Right?
I'm scared where you're going with this.
And so it's like, do people search Facebook like they search at Google for stuff? I've heard that Facebook was going to try to bring that in. Is that why you want to get ranked with Facebook and include this?
So, well, you can search Facebook's Open Graph, by the way. Like, it's real easy to use, like when you're doing Facebook advertising to do research and stuff. But besides that, they're creating this whole complex, data structure, right, behind the scenes to connect everything. But really, this is just to optimize how your page is going to look when someone shares it. For our intents and purposes. So when someone, yeah, so when someone clicks, I got too many tabs open. So when somebody clicks this Facebook icon to share it, or this Twitter or this Google Plus icon to share it, what we're doing right now up in the head section, not the header section, the head section with all this metadata is to make sure that it looks the way we want it to look, right? So you'd sometimes get like shares where it's ugly, like you don't have an image, right? And it's not as inviting to click on as, or maybe it has a description that doesn't even make sense, because they haven't optimized it for the Open Graph sharing where they put in the description and they put in the explicit link to an image.
But it helps with the marketing too, because Facebook recommends stuff to you all the time, right?
Yeah, I'm sure it has some play in that, although that's usually promoted posts, like I pay for my post to be promoted, so.
Yeah, like I'm all like open graph. So is there somewhere where they actually graph this and it's open to everybody? Is that why they named it that?
No. It's more because it's the complexities in terms of the different relationships, is why I think they called it Open Graph.
Ice-T?
What?
You know Ice-T?
The rapper?
Yeah.
He was a little before my time.
Yeah, right, exactly. I see OG, dude. I'm all about original things.
Yeah, exactly. That helps you remember it.
That was like Ice-T song, right? Back in the early 90s.
So we'll just, we don't need to iterate that. He's throwing jokes in there. Oh, I can't even remember. No.
So what's the difference between the simple, the standard, the full Monty, as they say?
It's just, and he goes more in depth into it, but it's how much time and effort you want to put into it, right? So this is the minimal template, takes about 2-3 minutes to put up and get all your information correct in there, and it'll work for probably, I'd say, 80% of the time. But then if you want to be more specific with exactly the Twitter card data, then you go into the standard template, and then the full Monty, you have everything, right? So you can read off trade-offs if that really, if that really helps or not.
So it starts specifying differences for Twitter versus Facebook versus Google+.
Right, and so when you get into you're right, and when you get into the full Monty, these item properties here are the structured data markup for Google. So if you ever, you ever seen how some things display in Google search results differently? Let's say, see how that's displayed differently than your normal, just regular search result right here. This is some type of this structured data markup here.
We looked at this. This is microdata for recipes in class, remember? It also comes up really well with recipes, like if it's chocolate chip cookie recipe or something. That really displays it well. So you can add microdata code, and you can see some of these cookies scroll up. So let's say you run a recipe site, you make money because people go to the site, and you have ads there, right? Well, right, you can see some of these things have ratings, calories, time to cook, reviews. Some of them don't. And the microdata, so you would add that to your site and tag it as microdata. And there's a certain format for that, and they have categories. So if you were a recipe, you could go into Google and search Google microdata, and then it'll take you to a page about microdata, which is also schema.org you saw in
Yep.
OG tags, OG tags. And anyhow, you just say, I want to do recipes, and they say use these tags to put in ratings, calories, time to cook, that kind of stuff.
So you have to basically decide the trade-off for how in-depth you want to go into it, but it's there if you want to.
So this is
Right.
a good thing to do at the end after you finish your website.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and that definitely check out that this SEO checklist, because you can go through here and you can see there's certain things you do at the end, right? So you install Google Analytics at the end, you install Google Webmaster Tools at the end, stuff like that, Whereas there's also certain things you do that are good to do, make sure while you're doing it, like in terms of the semantic markup and like, making your site easily, or make sense, more readable semantic for browsers, right? So that's stuff you do during, and then there's stuff you do at the end where there's different, like, there's Google Webmaster Tools is great because it'll scroll through your whole site and let you know how it's going to look, like in terms of to Google's robots and all that stuff. Right? So those are good things to do at the end as more of like a maintenance or performance check, right? But you want to try to do like the semantic markup and stuff while you're doing it. All right, so we'll go back here. All right.